Thank you, Joshua. I do want to, reiterate about his book. It's called Accidental Dads. You can get it on Amazon. I highly recommend you get this book. I've read it. I know several other people who have read it, and it's a very powerful book. I highly recommend getting it and reading it yourselves. It's definitely a great source of material. All right, at this time, we got another great friend of mine, from across the way, another family rights activist. He's also was with us on 9/11, the march through D.C. that we did last year, which was excellent. Hold on one second, folks. Let the police go by with their sirens. Thanks for interrupting, guys. Oh, you know what, Raymond? You might be right there. It might be going after the child kidnappers, especially since there's 20 that were kidnapped over the last 3 months here in D.C. Did you know about that, folks? Roughly about 20 to 25 children over the last 3 months since January were kidnapped here in your nation's capital. That's sad. That's extremely sad. Anywho, back to our guest speaking here. So again, another great friend of mine, and I met him back on 9/11 during the march through D.C., where we actually marched straight from here, from the Capitol building, down to the Lincoln Memorial, and then up to the White House. My good friend, Ted Fogg.
Hey everybody, my name is Ted Fogg. I'm here representing Restoring Freedom. And I never met Nancy Schaefer, but I've listened to her through interviews and listened to her speeches. Before she died, Nancy Schaefer was trying to warn of the dangers of CPS nationwide. In her own words, they are a protected empire of the judiciary. The message she was trying to convey was the justice system itself is responsible for stealing children out of schools, bus stops, out of their own beds in the middle of the night, and literally taking babies off their mother's breasts right in the hospital. CPS and the family court system are private institutions separate from the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, completely illegal. With zero management, zero oversight, and zero accountability, the corruption is rampant. And I do not use that word lightly or in a misdirected way. Corrupt judges receive kickbacks from private CPS facilities, millions of dollars in some cases. What we're going through right now is the greatest civil rights disaster in the history of mankind, and the family fraud and abuse system shows without a shred of doubt that any person put on a pedestal of royalty to govern the people becomes biased and corrupt in every way. Understand that for a child to be taken from a family is worse than death. When your parents are old and they die, it is sad, but expected. Not this. With no cause, no due process, no answers, your children are gone, and in some cases never seen again. How does that make you feel? If your son or daughter was murdered and you had no recourse, but you had judicial immunity, what would you do? The last example of how to destroy a society by the death and enslavement of children were the Romans. They enslaved and murdered Visigoth children, and in a few generations, the entire empire collapsed. We are the Visigoths. The United States judiciary are the Romans. It is now time to revamp and reinstate the original 13th Amendment that was deleted by the judiciary as a new 28th Amendment to the Constitution, ridding our country of the injustice the judicial branch of government has caused the American people. We should be creating and voting on the laws that govern us, not 9 elites behind closed doors at 3 in the morning. This is the opposite of what our founding fathers had intended. Every person in the U.S. has a general understanding that something is terribly wrong with this country, and that they have little to no power to do anything about it. So not surprisingly, fingers are pointed in every direction to many different problems. Ultimately, there is only one problem: the Supreme Court. It is led by one justice called the Chief Justice of the United States. The other 8 are known as associate justices. Once confirmed, they have complete control and serve for life. These are the 9 that give power to all of our problems. You see, just as lawyers benefit off division in court, the judiciary benefits off the division of the American people. protective mothers versus the father's rights movement, feminist versus manninist, LGBTQ versus MGTOW, Black Lives Matter versus the alt-right, Wall Street, labor unions, social media versus mass media, Republicans versus Democrat. There is power in respecting an individual enough to let them believe whatever they want. We have the freedom of thought, just as we have the freedom of speech. And in honoring that freedom, you free one another to agree that these 9 have no place in our society any longer. No matter who you are or what you do, there are 3 basic rules of law under our Constitution. The first being, the government is bound by the law. Second, all people, every last one of us, are to be treated equally, whether you are Brian Lee or Hillary Clinton. And number 3, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There are certain enduring human rights that must be protected. But these group of 9 have determined that judges are free to intentionally violate the Constitution as they see fit and do so with malice. There should never be incentives that govern us. There should never be kickbacks that govern us. There should never be corruption that governs us. We must replace these 9 with the American people. For the last 200 years, they have completely taken control of our country, superseding even the president. If we are not successful, the 9 will continue to kill us off, one by one, just as they did to Nancy Schaefer. Thank you.